Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for Quantum Troop's Mosasaur. Here's a size comparison. You can see he's much bigger than a leader class. Here's another size comparison, and he kind of gives me Beast Wars Neo Galvatron vibes. He did come with this instruction sheet, which was somewhat useful for figuring out where his parts forming pieces go. He also came with a sticker sheet, which you can see like there's some pink foil on him. That's a sticker, this insignia, and then like this purple on the shins, the lavender, the hips, all those pink foils. Those are all stickers. So he does come with some stickers. There's not a lot of paint on this guy. There's barely any. There's like some metallic purple paint there, a little bit of that paint right there. That's about it, and a little bit on the knees. But yeah, he's got barely any paint. His color separation is all just through the plastic parts. So he is kind of like separated, kind of like a model kit in a way. If we get a really good look at this head sculpt, you can see he's got this really cool like triple horn effect, which looks very good. And then his faceplate has these menacing looking teeth. And then I really enjoy the clear plastic that they used on his head, because it does look like his eyes have this kind of gem effect. And they use the same kind of red plastic on the Mosasaur head, and that also looks very cool. It looks like there's some electronic things going on inside, so they did a really good job with the clear plastic, which I'm always a fan of. But yeah, as far as his accessories goes, he's got quite a few. First, he's got his Mosasaur tail, which kind of makes like this scythe weapon. So that's pretty cool. Always a fan of scythe weapons. Always makes robots look very sinister. And then he does have another handle in the middle of the weapon, which I find very pointless. It makes it look like he's just carrying luggage or something. I never like it. When they put the handles there, it looks much worse. Because of his articulation, he can't two-hand it. So that's a shame, but I think it looks pretty good in his hand. Looks pretty menacing. And you can see it's made of these pink fins. So these can actually come off, and then one of his official modes, so it's kind of unofficial for him to have his scythe and have his Mosasaur head. Like officially, the gun mode has these fins on his shins. And this is kind of like the official gun mode. And then I did alter one other thing, is these fins actually should go into his shoulder according to the directions. So he's got more of this look. So this is like his Mosasaur combination. And then technically his tail, this peg is actually to peg in to his butt right here. So you got that look. Is that better? I don't know. It's just cool other thing he can do. So that's pretty great. And then you got his Mosasaur head, which is, I guess you could pretend is a gun. It doesn't really have a gun barrel inside or anything, but he could hold that as kind of a gun barrel. I think it's cool. You can get it the Beast Mode head in one arm and the tail in the other arm, just like Beast Wars Megatron. But yeah, some other things I think are pretty cool is you can actually use these rear fins, and these can become like little boomerang or dagger weapons. This is not really shown in the directions, but I mean the pegs are there. So that's pretty cool. Another nice thing is these extra bits. These fins don't really do much of anything, but they do have these special adapters. So you could, if you're creative, you could probably figure out other ways to like put his weapons together. So I guess you could technically combine these two pieces, and then this could be like a more serious looking sword. So that's pretty cool. So he's got a lot of fighting options, which I really appreciate. So a lot of accessories. And then I really do love this like clear pink. It's I don't know. It's just the color combination on this guy just looks really good. And then, yeah, I really like this head sculpt. It really gives me animated Transformers vibes. And then he does have like this kind of teeth effect here in his chest, just to make him look even more brutish. But yeah, he looks very demonic and evil, but also very intimidating. But also looks like he could be an ally to the good guys. So that's basically all his little accessories. So you can see, you just make a big pile of pieces. This guy does have an excessive amount of parts forming, like very needless. The other accessories he has is these cool drills. So big fan of that as well. This is the only place, one of the only places where he has rubber parts, which I don't like. And then the tail here also has rubber parts, which are pretty unnecessary because they're not even pointy. But those are the only places where they use rubber, so that's nice. And then as far as his articulation goes, he does have a head swivel. His horn does articulate for transformation. Yeah, he's got pretty much 360 on the head here. He's got 360 on the shoulder, on spring ratchets. He's got some, I think, friction ratchets here, which get a good amount of outward motion. He is missing bicep swivel. This is like the only articulation I feel like he really needed, especially for his scythe weapon. He doesn't have wrist swivel either, so only the transformation joint. And then you could see his bicep is pretty good. It is technically like a double joint for transformation, but you're only going to get about 90 degrees out of it realistically. He does have universal hips, so he is going to kick almost all the way out, most of the way forward. Actually, that's probably like 45 degrees maybe, and then all the way, almost all the way back. And then he does have a thigh swivel, so that's nice. And he does have a waist swivel too, which is on some kind of spring ratchet in there. And then he does have nice spring ratchet in the knees, 45 degrees. And then he does have ankle tilts, which is also very nice. So you can get some pretty decent poses. So you can get some pretty decent posing, but ultimately you're going to be limited by the lack of bicep swivel. But yeah, you can get some really good fighting poses out of this guy. He's pretty cool. So yeah, for transformation, he does have 3 modes. So we'll just start with his simplest mode, which is his drill tank. So you're just going to fold up his fists. You can see these are like the frontward treads now. And then you're going to take his head, and then you're going to swivel it all the way around, open up his chest, and then his head is going to just pop in there. There's a nice little slot for his head crest. And then you can like lift up this rear section here and kind of just position these little rear fin pieces. These don't really do anything in any of his modes. They're just kind of a nice little aesthetic thing. And then you just rotate his hands up, collapse his arms into his chest. And then you're just going to rotate all of this to the back. And then there's a lot of places that he's going to peg together, which is very nice. So the back, there's like a peg right here that pegs into that. It's a clip that clips into the back of his hips. So that's going to help hold him in place. And then you're going to take the legs, and they have this kind of collapsing armature. You're going to rotate that way. And then you unpeg the feet. So they are clipped into place with this clip here. And then this is just going to peg in back here. And this will make the rear of the vehicle. So then you just fold up the toes. Did the same thing on the other leg, and then you can just peg everything in together. And there's another little connection point right here, which connects frictions into the back of his thighs. So you can get this even more secure. It's kind of unnecessary, but it does help hold him together, peg him together even more securely. These don't peg in at all. They only have this place where they're locked in place. They don't have any other place that's correct. And I think I'd put these stickers sideways because these are actually covered up in this mode, so that's too bad. And then you're going to open up this forward section here and then rotate this into place. And this is, I guess, just helps make the vehicle look a little more cohesive, even though it's not like a driver's seat or anything. And then you just take his 2 drill bits and you can just put those back on his forearms, or you can put them up in this position, I think is the correct place for this mode. And you get a very unconvincing looking drill tank. Like, it always bugs me when you imagine these kind of like plowing through a wall. You can see that it's mostly gonna hit wall. It's gonna drill like 2 little holes here, and then it's just gonna be bashing into this wall. It's very not an effective drill tank, but looks pretty cool. It's a tank, so I always appreciate that. And it's got this cool, like these foil stickers look like eyes now, and this looks like a mouth. So it still has like his beast mode effects on it. But yeah, not the best mode. It's pretty simple. And then getting him into his Mosasaur is very easy. You're just going to take this headpiece, and that's going to peg in here, and there's a little slot right there. Okay, now his head's in place, and then you're gonna just get rid of these. Technically, these don't belong in his Mosasaur form. And then you're going to take the tail here, and it's got these clips which clip into the back, the tops of his feet. Okay, so that's his tail sorted out, and then you're going to take off these fin pieces, and these will become his back fins, which just go back here. And then you're going to take his other fin pieces, so I have to reassemble this one. And then these fin pieces are just going to clip right in here at the treads. Or they're just going to peg in place rather. And then there's his Mosasaur form, which again is not great. It's kind of decent. Like, it's not terrible looking, but it's kind of lacking. It just doesn't feel quite right. It probably could have used a couple more transformation steps. It would have been nice if he could slim down a little bit more, but yeah, it's a cool thing he can do. At least he's got another mode, which kind of adds play value to this toy. But compared to like the Mosa Razor Megazord, this thing just looks so much better comparatively. This looks just more visually interesting than this guy, except for Mosa Storm just has the better colors. But yeah, you can see this one just looks more anatomically correct, and this just looks like a robotic Mega Man X Mosasaur, which is not a bad thing either. It's a very different style. But yeah, highly recommend this figure. He does have a fair amount of parts forming, and then in all of his modes, he usually has some leftover parts that kind of don't go anywhere. And these don't peg in here, unfortunately. You can only get them back here. Yeah, I got him on AliExpress. I'll put the link in the description. He was about $65 after shipping, which is a pretty good deal for a figure that's this big. And the quality feels pretty good. I would say probably an 8, pretty solid quality. I don't feel like anything's gonna break. He's got like a harder, kind of more brittle plastic. It's not like the kind of plastic that they tend to use for toys nowadays, but I still think that's okay. It's thick enough that I'm not worried about it. But yeah, really like this guy, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.